Betsy.
Yes, dear heart.
We are at day 3 of our VBS in West Virginia.
Already?
Already. It's the
My
last
goodness.
day. Now, I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I hope you enjoy being able to see the heavens, be able to see all of God's creation under a microscope and on trail, and all the fun things that Mr. Price did. So today we're going to talk about your neighbor. So who is our neighbor, Miss Betsy? Can you name any of our neighbors?
All of them.
Well, we have a neighbor over here, neighbor over here. We have neighbors in our backyard with dogs that like to bark at each other. Is that our neighbors?
Yes.
And all of our neighbors, just like just one house down is a neighbor, is that it? Or one house over there?
Oh no, I have neighbors all over the development.
Okay, so it's just people in our development. We live in Green Ridge 2, so people in Green Ridge 2, that's our neighbors?
I know other people. I know a lot of people.
Would that be our neighbor? Just people that live near us? Is that a neighbor?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Does the Bible say anything about neighbors?
That we're supposed to love our neighbors as ourselves.
That's a good point. Now, let's read. We're going to read here from Luke, and you may have heard this from Mr. Harley already. I have a sneaking suspicion that he's doing this too. But, so, in the Luke chapter 10, here it is. Now, one of the experts, like the Pharisees, was trying to trick Jesus. So on one occasion, the expert of the law stood up to test Jesus. "Teacher," he asked, "what must I do to inherit eternal life?" And Jesus said, "What is written in the law? And how do you read it?" And the Samaritan answered, it says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and to love your neighbor as yourself." Jesus said, "You have answered correctly." And then Jesus said, "Do this, and you will live." Now, the Pharisee wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, "Who is my neighbor?" And Jesus gave a parable of the Good Samaritan. He said, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers." Okay, so this man got attacked by robbers. They stripped him of all his clothes. And by the way, Samaritans, so we think about there's some prejudice going on in this country and other places of the world. Now, Samaritan, they were really looked down on by Jews. They're like the dust of the earth. Like, you don't want to hang out with a Samaritan because they're not good people. So if somebody, as a matter of fact, if you're walking down the street and you're a good Jew and you see a Samaritan coming at you, you're like, "I'm getting to the other side of the road. I don't want to be on the same side of the street as a Samaritan."
That's not very neighborly.
No, that's not neighborly at all. So when this Pharisee said, "Who's my neighbor?" the last person on earth he was thinking is Jesus would say, "A Samaritan, my neighbor? I would never live within 100 miles of a Samaritan." That's exactly who Jesus said is your neighbor, as we will read. Alright, so this poor Samaritan got robbed and attacked, stripped of his clothes, was beaten, and then the robber went away and left this poor guy for dead. Not good, is it? A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. The priest! I can't imagine Pastor Craig doing that. Could you imagine that, Miss Betsy? Pastor Craig just leaving this poor helpless guy? No. But the priest switched sides. So too a Levite. A Levite was like an expert in the law when he came. So that like be a professor at a seminary or something like that. Saw him, he passed on the other side too. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, now this Pharisee is like a Samaritan, certainly wouldn't do the right thing. Traveled, came to where the man was, and saw him, and took pity on him. So it's a Samaritan that was doing the right thing.
Well, he was a really nice guy.
He was. And he wasn't a great Jew in the eyes of the Pharisee. He was just a dirty, rotten Samaritan. He's the one that's taking care of this
So
stranger.
what did he do, Mr. Rich?
So he bandaged him and his wounds and poured like oil and things that they thought would help. Then he put the man on his own donkey. So today we would put him in this beat up, bleeding person in his car, and brought him to the inn to take care of him. So in today's world, he took him to the doctors. The next day, he took out 2 denarii, so he took his own money and gave it to the innkeeper. So it'd be like he took him to the hospital, and then he paid his bills too.
Wow.
I know. And look after him, he said, and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expenses you may have. So that's like taking him to the doctor and saying, here's $100. If you need more, just let me know and I'll pay whatever you need.
So he paid the bill.
He paid the bill.
Wow.
So which of these do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell in the hands of the robber? And the expert of the law said, the one who had mercy on him. And Jesus said, go and do likewise. So is it just the people that live in our neighborhood that are neighbors?
No. I guess I was wrong.
How about, is it just people that look like us are our neighbors? Or believe the same things as us are our neighbors?
No.
No. Even people that don't believe the same things or look like us or maybe even live in another country.
You're right.
And everybody's our neighbor.
You're right, Mr. Rich.
So, just like this Good Samaritan was kind to this person he didn't even know, and not just kind, I mean, he put him in on his donkey, he took him to get care, then he paid the bills. I mean, would you even do that? Maybe for a good friend we would do that.
Well, we don't even know if it was all of his money that he gave me.
Yeah.
What a nice guy he was.
Yes. So, we know that God created everything. God created us. And God created every single person, even the person you don't like in school, God created in love. Or the person down the street that you think isn't worth anything, God thinks they're worth more than all the money in the world. Or somebody on TV you think is rotten, God loves them too. No matter who you come across with, that is our neighbor, that is somebody God loves, that is somebody that we should treat with respect and with love and with kindness. Even if they disagree with you, they may think they may think the Bible's terrible, they may think God doesn't exist, they may think all kinds of things that you don't think, but we're just supposed to listen. We can share what we think with gentleness and with respect. Treat them kindly and with respect. Even if they yell at us, even if they make fun of us, even if they call us stupid, we are not to respond the same way. Don't you think so, Betsy?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
No, and humble yourself.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So what kind of things have we done that we're helping people we don't even know?
Oh. Well, together we work at the homeless shelter.
Yeah. So every month, not the past few months we haven't because they've been put in hotels because of this whole virus thing, but for years and years, you know how it started? We've been going to the homeless shelter. So that started because we were hiking in the woods and we came across this tent city with people that were homeless in our Harford County, Maryland. I had no idea there was homeless people in Maryland. And at that time I said, I think that God is showing us this because He wants us to help them. So that was on a Sunday afternoon.
And then the next
That
Monday.
Friday, Miss Betsy was taking lunch to another of our neighbors, or dinner to her neighbors, who was having back surgery. And so she and my mom took dinner, and she was telling this story to her, and she said that, you know what? I, right now, am leading this feeding every month of the homeless. homeless, and I've been looking for somebody to give that to. So that was like in
10 years ago.
Yeah, October, about 10 years ago. So like 1 week later, we were there. She was training us, and we took over, and we've been doing it ever since. Any other ways that maybe you help your neighbor?
Well, we both teach Sunday school every week,
Yeah.
and I work with special needs kids. Well, kids I call them, adults over the age of 18. I've been doing that for a while. And I do that at my church.
Yeah. So there's lots of ways you can help your neighbor. It could be something through the church like us, or Betsy also with this coronavirus, it's just literally walking around our neighborhood. She's been so good at just reaching out to people. She sees them outside. People are outside, at least here, a lot more than they used to be, since they're staying at home and stuff like that, just trying to get out and walk. So she's been so good at getting to know people, finding out if they need anything. And we have a neighbor across the street who's elderly, and next door who's elderly, seeing if they need help. So just whoever's around you that you think needs help, just reach out and help. All right.
I think that's a really good thing to do. And Mr. Rich, you've explained that so well.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so after this, we'll talk a little bit about sort of what we've learned this whole 3 days, okay? So we'll look forward to that.